Chris Evans, the CEO of Winsome Resources. We had you on the podcast just after you made this Renard acquisition, and I was very privileged to join 15 others last Friday to actually see it.
Welcome back to Rockstock Channel. It is Sunday, July 21st, and I'm excited to share this video I've been preparing over the past month with Winsome Resources key executives, investors, and sell-side analysts on site in Quebec, Las Vegas, and New York. RK Equity has been an advisor to and invested in Winsome since before its IPO in 2021. I've also known and worked with CEO Chris Evans since he was COO at Altura back in 2018. And further, I've worked with Ernie Ortiz, CEO of Lithium Royalty Corp., a founding shareholder and royalty holder in Winsome. As a reminder, RK Equity is not an investment advisor, and this video is for informational purposes only, and nothing should be considered investment advice. Please do your own research and read the disclaimer at the end of this video. Winsome Resources is traded on the Australian Stock Exchange, ticker symbol WR1, and also on the OTC market for North American investors, WRSLF. It has a market cap of about 150 million Aussie, or approximately 100 million US dollars. Winsome has approximately 50 million Aussie in the bank, having recently concluded a $25 million capital raise. Winsome has a very proactive investor communications effort, emailing monthly its Lithium Lately newsletter. They also host frequent interactive webinars and publish regular updates on X and LinkedIn. I encourage you all to register your email at their website, winsomeresources.com.au, and follow them on X, at WinsomeRES. Chris Evans and the team he's assembled at Winsome have not only made the major Adina spodumene discovery in Quebec, with a current resource of 77 million tons at 1.15% grade, but they've also been very astute dealmakers. Last year, when the Canadian government forced several Chinese companies to sell stakes in critical minerals developers, Winsome picked up a 19.9% interest in Power Metals. Power Metals is advancing the Case Lake lithium project in Ontario, but has also made a major high-grade cesium discovery. Winsome has 100% offtake rights to this cesium, which we think provides hidden value the market is given no credit for inside Winsome's valuation. We will be discussing Power Metals and its cesium potential in future videos.
Why the market's investing in Power Metals, and we're seeing it today at the conference, is due to our high-grade cesium. Historically, there's been 3 global resources of cesium. Power Metals is potentially sitting on the world's 4th, with incredibly high grades at present. Cesium has been used in a number of applications, usually dominated by the Chinese. And the last round of drilling that produced almost 25% pure cesium is incredibly exciting for the company.
And then this year, another great deal was Winsome's option to purchase the bankrupt Renard Diamond Mine Complex, which is the main subject of today's video. As CapEx for mining projects has risen significantly in recent years, Renard, with nearly $1 billion invested since 2014, presents an opportunity for Winsome both to lower its CapEx spend by hundreds of millions of dollars, while also likely shortening its timeline to production. Winsome will be publishing its first preliminary economic assessments detailing these costs and overall project economics later this year. I've often compared spodumene lithium to the iron ore market, as has lithium legend Ken Brinsden. I've included some recent comments from Ken in this video. It is a strong testament for Quebec's potential to replicate Western Australia's spodumene success that Ken quickly came out of his retirement from Pilbara and moved with his wife to Quebec to take on the CEO role at Patriot Battery Metals. But there's a legend most in the lithium industry don't know about named Michael O'Keefe. At the bottom of the iron ore market several years ago, Michael and a group of investors paid 5 cents on the dollar, $53 million in cash and assumed liabilities, to buy the $1 billion plus Bloom Lake iron ore complex in Quebec out of bankruptcy. He and his team have turned what is today Champion Iron Ore into a highly profitable, dividend-paying producer with a market cap of some $3 billion. Winsome's option to purchase the $1 billion Renard complex for $55 million in stages in cash or shares reminded me of this Champion Iron Ore success story. As a result of the Power Metals and Renard deals and the Adina discovery, it is my opinion that Chris Evans will, in a few years, be talked about by investors and industry peers with similar admiration accorded Ken Brinsden and Michael O'Keefe. In addition to iron ore, I've drawn parallels for Quebec's lithium to its aluminum industry. There are some 8 smelters operated by Rio Tinto and Alcoa, which produce 2.9 million tons of primary aluminum. This is a $7 to $8 billion revenue business which supplies 60% of North America's aluminum needs. Consider the substantial investments being made in Canada across the entire value chain, from mine to cathode to battery to EV and recycling. In Bécancour, Quebec, Ford, EcoPro, and SK On are investing $1.2 billion for cathode active materials. Also in Bécancour, POSCO and GM are investing $500 million also for cathode active materials. In Ontario, 4 separate battery plants are being built. A $7 billion plant from Volkswagen, $5 billion from Stellantis and LG Energy, $7 billion from Northvolt, and $1.5 billion from Umicore. With Arcadium planning a hydroxide plant for Nemaska and possibly James Bay, and Sayona and Piedmont considering a carbonate plant for North American Lithium, I think large, high-quality assets like Patriot's Corvette Discovery and Winsome's Adina, as well as Sayona's Moblin and Critical Elements Rose project, provide critical mass for more lithium chemical plants, as there are so many aluminum smelters in the province. I expect Quebec will see new, well-capitalized entrants to the hard rock hydroxide story, just as Wesfarmers came into Mount Holland with SQM and in Western Australia. Who might it be? Rio Tinto is often mooted as a potential acquirer of Arcadium, but they're a logical candidate to participate in the Quebec development story as well. But there are others, like Agnico Eagle, which is one of the largest gold producers, very heavily active in Quebec as well, and has been sniffing around for many years. And why would an SQM enter Quebec? Might Winsome become another Kidman?
Here in Montreal, about to board a plane. I'm not exactly sure where we're flying into first, but there's Chris Evans and a bunch of guys and gals.
Good morning, Winsome shareholders. I am recording this from the Renard mine site where I've just landed with our group of investors, analysts and media, and we're really excited for the day ahead that we've got for our site tour today. On the plane here this morning, one of the most common questions I got from our group of investors and analysts is, what's the quality of the infrastructure at Renard? What does it mean for Winsome, and how easily can the plant be adapted to process our spodumene? The infrastructure is fantastic. We've got an airfield that I'm standing at now. There is the processing plant. There's a 330-person camp. There is a processed pegmatite facility. All of that is in place. The processing plant itself is relatively easily converted to process our spodumene from the current kimberlite. We need to change out a couple of bits of equipment, but largely the process is in place.
We are sitting around here, and the red line are all the network of ditches surrounding the property. So all the runoff water is catched by those ditches, and the water by gravity is brought to an accumulation basin, and the water is pumped from there and treated and returned to the environment following our commitment for environment. Most of the water for the processing, 95% of the water for processing, is pumped back to the plant. So we are not pumping fresh water to run the plant. So it's all recycled water.
At the capacity of the plant, so you use 6 generators to run the plant at full capacity?
Yes.
Okay. So
6 out of 8.
6 out of 8, yeah. And that was for 9,000 tons per day. Total capacity.
Total capacity.
So this is the crusher. So right now this crusher is crushing kimberlite diamonds, and it's conveying it like through here and putting it into that dump truck. So you're going to bring spodumene into there and crush it.
That's correct.
And then those trucks are going to go to a processing plant that you're going to build into SC6.
Here we're in the control room of the processing plant. We have a control room operator
who can manage the plant, and we have access to the camera as well within the plant. The first step is when the mining truck dumps the ore, it's dumped over here on the grizzly, and then from there it's going through the primary crusher, which is a jaw crusher, and then this conveyor feeds it to the processing plant, which is over here. Okay, from the DMS, the float portion falls onto this screen where the material is being screened off. The coarser rock are going to the HPGR to increase liberation.
On that corner over there, you have the machine shop, so we can machine rods, all material needed to do the repairs.
Wow, that's a big wrench.
In your garage, are you set up like this? Area, so 3 buildings, 85 rooms per building. Yeah, you have 2 Jack and Jill. Jack sharing his bathroom with Jill for contractor mostly. Total rooms 330. Air conditioning, heating.
Oh, we're in the hotel room here.
Sorry, you want another shot? Yeah, let's check it too.
Yeah.
We're just getting an example of one of the rooms. They got a luxury recliner. Getting ready to go to Adina. Okay, so just, what's your name? Carl. Okay, we just landed here. No, just Carl is going to describe. We're sitting here on an outcropping pegmatite, and he's going to show us the Adina discovery hole. And you could see that the trees are all burnt from the fires last year. So this is the discovery drill hole, October 2022. Do you remember the date? My birthday is October 28th, 15th, October 15th, 2022. Yeah. Okay, so Jamie, Leo, this is financing your education. All right, so your name, director.
My name is Qingtao Zeng. I'm the non-executive director of Winsome Resources.
Have you been there since like Metals Tech, yes?
Proudly the #1 employee of Winsome.
Like, what do you make of like the recent evolution of Winsome, just as a deposit, but also this Renard acquisition, and then kind of like the path to development, from here?
I think Winsome is very lucky to have this opportunity, to have this potential, the option to acquire the Renard mine. Given, I think, from the market point of view, the major challenge is, the major question is, you are located in a remote area. How about the infrastructures, and what will be the capex? But right now, this potential deal, the option, gave us a big lift to answer that question. And then coming back to the journey of doing exploration, for us, we are on the path to define a potential world-class, I think it's already world-class lithium asset in Canada. This journey is also a fantastic journey for everybody getting involved from day one. And for myself, I feel definitely very, very lucky.
All right, Justin Boylson, another non-executive director. Very nice to meet you here. Could you just give us a quick background, very quick on your background, and then more just on Winsome and your thoughts?
Also, Howard, thanks for turning up. It's a long way to come. I think it's pretty impressive what you're seeing today. I've been involved.
It's only from New York. It's not that far.
A long way for us. No, look, thanks for coming today. As I said, it's very important you come and see this amazing opportunity. My background, I've been involved with the business since listing. I was the founding chairman. I've got a background in commodity trading, involved in a couple of other ASX companies in the nickel, copper, gold space. Look, for me, I see the real opportunity we have both at the Adina discovery being world-class and scalable, but more importantly, I think we bring the whole vertically integrated North American lithium play with this amazing opportunity we have with the option over the Renard Stoneway operation. Oh, I'm so
All right,
it's so cold. Why is it so cold here in Canada? I thought it was going to be warm.
It's not bad in Quebec. Anyway, we're here with Tim Hoff at the airport after a whole day visiting Adina and the Renard Diamond Mine, and we're about to get our Ubers and have a dinner later. But just quick impressions overall. Canaccord covers Winsome, led the IPO. Reg covers it with you as backup, pretty much.
Look, the size and scale of what's up there is fairly remarkable. There's a lot of sunk cost infrastructure between the power, the plant, the accommodation. You fly over it and it sort of looks like a little dot, and then you get down there and it's a huge bit of infrastructure. So, that puts them at an advantage if they choose to take that option. So, I think it'd be hard to make a decision other than acquiring it.
What's your view of how is Winsome progressing toward production?
Yeah, sure. It's a good question. In some ways, it's not too dissimilar from what we experienced at Core when we were developing the project. We saw the peak of the market in the early stages of sort of project development, and we had to sort of manage our way through in a very sort of efficient but still dedicated process, because we still, the fundamentals of the need for additional lithium supply and the growth in lithium demand are still there. Yes, the pricing is sort of soft at the moment, and the market seems in balance for the next period of time. But we've seen cycles before where that sort of demand cycle sort of picks up where supply is needed. And Winsome now has a project where we've got a huge resource. It's high grade from surface, and now alongside the Renard opportunity in regards to finding a huge capex saving for the project. It's now about trying to sort of guide the development of the project through this period in a sort of a capital efficient way, and sort of moving through some of those processes which can take longer through development, through feasibility, through approvals, through social license. There's sort of still key aspects of project delivery that will take time and that are needed, but then importantly position Winsome to be ready to supply the market when it needs, when the market picks up again.
A couple of comments around the market. Now, I have to say, it runs in stark contrast to the conversations that are actually going on inside the industries. There is huge construction underway of future gigafactory production. There is gigafactories popping up everywhere because the lithium-ion battery platform is the rechargeable battery platform of choice, and it likely will be for a generation. An important outcome and something that should not be underestimated by anyone really, whether you're an investor or an analyst in the industry, is just how cheap those cells have become in China. This is a key driver to market growth because those cheaper cells find new markets, and an obvious new market for those cheap cells is static energy storage. Have a look at Tesla's results. Their static energy storage business is up 160% compared to the same time last year. I can assure you, this industry has every chance of surprising to the upside. The industry is now very focused on alternate supply to China. That is a key imperative from the industry, and I'm really glad that Liontown's had success with LG Energy Solutions, because it's just another data point to how active the industry is in its sorting out this question of alternate supply to China. So the Grand Alliance, that's an important initiative between basically the Cree Nation, Inuits, and the province of Quebec, considering the development of the north, but also the connection to the Renard Diamond Mine Road. Now, we look at that project favourably. In the event that the Renard Diamond Mine Road was connected, it would have the effect of either splitting or at the very least reducing the total haulage that would come via the Trans-Taiga Highway and then west to the Billy Diamond Highway by going via the Renard Road. We're supportive of such an initiative, at least as considered by the Grand Alliance.
At least for us, we feel very advantaged in something like a Winsome that we think is going to be a very low cost position, that even if they sell to the open market, they'll still be making significant margins. And that's one of our probably biggest value drivers for LRC. We have a 4% royalty on Adina. That's a 77 million ton asset with more drilling to come and a new mineral resource expected in the first quarter of 2025. That could end up being one of the largest assets in the Americas in the coming months, which actually it already is, but it could go over 100 million tons based on the kind of drill results that we're seeing and so forth. So we're very excited by the development path that Winsome's undertaking.
I think you were heading to Asia. You met with a lot of, Asian strategics. There's a lot of Asian strategics here, well-capitalized companies. You also did a capital raise. So just give us an update, since we kind of last spoke to you, and I'll leave it with you.
Thank you, Howard. Pleasure to be here at the conference and to be interviewed. I think there's certainly been a lot happening in the last couple of months for us, despite the market conditions. Compared to some of our peers, we're well capitalised, and that's allowed us to keep progressing with all our planned activities. So we've had a series of strategic conversations. About 6 weeks ago, we went to Korea and Japan, met in person a lot of the potential strategic partners that we might be dealing with, and now again at this conference. The nature of the strategic partnerships we are looking for is a partner who can help us convert our product into lithium hydroxide within Quebec. The other things we've done in the last couple of months is upgraded our resource. So about 6 weeks ago, we published Resource Upgrade, and that's put us now as the third largest lithium resource in North America. But importantly, I think the largest indicated resource, the largest lithium indicated resource in North America. And with the Renard mine just 60 kilometres away and the ability to acquire that at some point this year, that gives us a credible pathway to production with a world-class resource just down the road. And then just last week we announced our capital raise. We wanted to be well-funded and remove any perception that we weren't well-funded enough to exercise the option to acquire Renard and therefore be perceived as come raise. So we did a raise of 25 million Australian dollars. We've now got circa 50 in the bank,